Deep Shot Podcast, Season 4, Episode 31.
Feel like there was a running back for
Raheem Mostert.
Poster, there we go.
Is he?
He was.
Yeah, he's
Still is.
31. Justin Simmons with the Falcons was number 31.
Yeah, isn't Xavier Watts 31 now with him?
Xavier Watts is 31.
There we
You are correct.
Episode 31. We were scrambling there to find something, but we found it. Welcome to another episode of the Deep Shot Podcast. We are fresh off of the Deep Shot Sports Helping Paws event just under 24 hours ago at Mutation Brewing Company in Sandy Springs, Georgia. Went and just dropped off the all the dog and cat food today. We eclipsed 2,400 pounds yesterday donated between each and every one of you guys that showed out. It was an awesome event. All three of us were there. Shout out to our guy Trey who really put it all together. Shout out to Mutation. Shout out to our guy Broderick that helped us out a lot yesterday, and everybody else who kind of lended a helping hand. But really shout out to the fans and making that what it was. It was a really special day, and we had great football on. I mean, we just had great beer. We had stickers and shirts and everything going off. Scoville was, at one point starting to give out free chicken. I mean, it was just an awesome day. And we did it for a greater cause, man. So how did you guys feel about yesterday?
I mean, I thought it was a blast. I mean, I talked about it a few weeks ago, but I was just so excited. Number one, to be back with you guys, see some people that I don't see quite as often. A bunch of my fraternity brothers were there. Shout out Davis Howard. And just seeing everyone there was just great. It was Stein Saturday, which I didn't know was a thing. So we got a couple Steins. Shout out Austin. I don't know, just a great day. And the Scoville did not let me down. I've never had Scoville hot chicken, and I got the hot, which I think was the fourth on like the heat index, and I did start sweating. But typically, I can handle hot chicken. I thought about going for the extra hot. I'm really glad I did. Really glad.
Yeah, I did chill.
Hey, Caleb, how did you do on the hot chicken?
Why are you asking me that? Just out of nowhere. Hey, listen, I'll throw the 2 cents in here. I got the hot lemon pepper Cajun. Shocker. Okay. Shocker. But that is my flavor that I go to all the time. It never lets me down. And Scoville had a very, very good one. And they also, I judge a good wing place, honestly, by their sauces that come with the wings too. Like the ranch, fantastic. The fries, underrated fries from this place.
And, that had a little comeback sauce too.
Yes, so good.
Comeback sauce was good.
I thought that was really good. I got like the chill tenders when I got them because I didn't want to have to start freaking out. Jake was saying, and I didn't really. I've had Scoville before, but it had been a while. And those are literally the only 2 things I ate yesterday were 2 tenders from Scoville hot chicken and like a cookie at one point.
There we go.
I
was kind of shocked. A lot of people came in like getting carry out Scoville hot chicken, just like in and out. Like they did a lot of freaking business yesterday. They probably did better than we did.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's a great place to eat. And shout out for them for giving that 10% off, as well as giving out some free food. So that was just a great event yesterday, and really excited to do that again here soon. So we appreciate everybody's support. But from now on, we got to talk some football. We got to talk about week 13 of college football and week 12 of the NFL. We kind of talked about last week how it was, that week where it seemed like not a lot of big games were going on. The Georgia was playing Charlotte. Ohio State was playing Rutgers. Tennessee was playing Florida. Like these, just teams playing bad teams this weekend. So we did have to talk about the 2 ranked matchups that we did have: Oregon versus USC. One of our highlights on the squares yesterday, if you were there. Oregon comes away with the win, 42-27. Huge win. As Oregon really, needed a resume booster. USC pretty much out of the playoff race now at this point. Oregon's still slightly alive. Actually, no, I think Oregon's fully eliminated from the Big Ten Championship now. I think the Michigan Ohio State game winner will now be going to the Big Ten Championship. But either way, Oregon had the battle in this game, and they've had the battle in the Iowa game. Remember, we go back to that Penn State game. They had the battle in that one. They were down. But this USC came out hot. They were up 7-0 first drive. Oregon was able to respond, and then Oregon was able to kind of put the foot on the gas, score another touchdown, but then USC came back out there. So both teams scored on 2 of their first 3 drives. Oregon was able to get an interception to kind of separate themselves and go up 2 scores. I didn't think USC played a bad game, though, from the statistical standpoint at all. I think they really gave themselves a shot. I think this just came down to Oregon figuring out ways to win more than USC has done. I talked about last week at USC, has had some really bad issues at running back this year. pretty much lost all the running backs. They only had 52 yards rushing this game. And another big thing was coming in this game that Oregon had the number one pass defense in all of college football. USC was able to still throw for over 300 yards. So USC was still able to get theirs, but I think Oregon was just kind of maybe a more opportunistic in this. Maybe they get a +1 in a turnover battle here. There's a big turnover on downs towards the end of the game where USC had to, have it to go. But I didn't think USC played a bad game here from what I was able to watch and everything. I just think Oregon, made more plays than they did. I think USC really showed they are a good football team, though.
I think you make some good points because I think when you're talking offense and defense for both teams, I do think it was pretty similar. It comes down to, like you said, Oregon won the turnover battle. They won the time of possession, and they have that big punt return touchdown. That is the difference in this game because when it was just the offense versus the defense, it was a pretty even matchup. It sucks for USC. I was really pulling for them in this one, really wanted to see them really start to shake things up because, who knows? They win this one, then, they win next week. Now we got to have the conversations USC going to get in here. But like you said, yeah, their playoff chances are all but dead now. I was really feeling it on that trick play that they had. I mean, an absolute snag in the end zone. One of the best plays of the weekend, in my opinion. I was really feeling them at that point. I think that was the quarter I won in squares was that game, maybe. But yeah, I mean, all in all, a really good matchup. Was hoping for a little bit more drama down the line because, especially those 7:30 games did not give us much drama. Shout out Georgia Tech, shout out Florida. So, but all in all, good little matchup. Good little matchup.
It felt like to me when I was watching that game, just the feel of it. They ran out of gas. USC, talking about USC, they kind of ran out of gas towards the end of the game. They missed a field goal before half. I think that was a little bit of a bump to their momentum. That was huge for the Squares too, by the way. Huge for the Squares at the party. But I was really impressed with Dante Moore in this game. It felt like he had command of what they were doing out there. He made the plays when he needed to. And then on the flip side of that, like Mayaba missed a couple throws on third downs. I know I remember him missing like a shallow cross. It was a man cover beater. They had him. He missed him. There was a little bit of pressure from the right tackle, but you got to make those throws in order to beat teams like that are top 10 in the country, especially if you're on the road. So, just missed opportunities. And, Oregon one-time possession. They were able to run the football effectively, 179 yards on the ground. That's winning success. And they had to play on special teams. They won in all three phases.
And Mekhi Lemon had 3 touchdowns in this game. And they still are. Like, if you would have told me Mekhi Lemon was going to have 2 receiving touchdowns and a passing touchdown in this game, I would have figured USC probably had a good chance to win this, and they still lose by 2 scores. Let's talk about a different game. Missouri, Oklahoma was the other ranked matchup of the season of the weekend. Oklahoma wins 17-6. They are basically 1 win away, just like Oregon, from making the playoffs. Gritty defensive performance. Oklahoma shut out Missouri in the entire second half. This is a team that I said last week when me and Kayla were kind of breaking it down. It was like these are 2 teams that I don't really trust that well at all, like to win games at this point, which is the way Oklahoma's been playing and how their defense kind of been saving them. But they did it again, and Missouri once again cannot beat a top 10 SEC team. Like I said that, they haven't beat the ranked SEC team in years. Oklahoma was back in this game, so we talked about that was like a possibility. He came back and played, which it seemed like his season was over, when they played Vanderbilt. Not the case. There was really like one big play for Oklahoma in this game. It was an 87-yard touchdown pass that Mateer had to Isaiah Sategna. Sategna. Anyway, that was basically the big play that kind of broke it open for Oklahoma. Moves into 9-2. If you look at the stat lines here, nothing ultra impressive on either side, which is again why I said Oklahoma doesn't really impress me that much week in, week out, but they're finding ways to win. And that defense is really the reason why. It's crazy to think, like, John Mateer was 14 for 30, so he's less than 50% completion percentage, ran for 60. Nothing like crazy other than that one big play. Could I mention that? He had like an 80-yard play, so really, 13 of 29 with like 90 yards or, whatever. And credit to Missouri's defensive line. We talked about how they were nasty. Ahmad Hardy, 17 carries, 57 yards. He's been, the big thing for Missouri this year. But when they played big teams like in the Alabama game, he didn't have a big turnout. The Vandy game didn't have a big turnout. Here he doesn't have the big turnout. So just another, bad loss from Missouri. No, I'm going to say it's a bad loss. It's a bad showing from Missouri in a big game.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma, I hope they make the playoffs. I hope they do. I'd be really happy to see Oklahoma, another SEC team in there. But it's really hard for me to fathom like Oklahoma like winning in a playoff game. Now they should beat LSU next week because LSU just, I don't know if you saw that. They won by 3 against Western Kentucky last night. So they should make the playoffs, but I'm not sure how confident I am that Oklahoma's winning a game when they get there.
Well, if they are going to make the playoff, barring anything crazy happening next week at home against LSU. But where they're ranked right now, it should be a home game. They're going to get a home kick in Norman, so that definitely plays a factor. Trying to think, because they're at 8, so they'd be playing 9. So it's going to be a tough matchup, whoever they get matched up with. So we're not going to make any predictions on that just yet, but I could maybe see them sneaking one and then getting killed in the quarters, to be honest. But yeah, I feel like I have an apology to make, because a few weeks ago on this show, I was very critical of the Oklahoma defense, saying that all their numbers were lies and they hadn't played anybody. I had 1 week where it really seemed like that was the correct take. And since then, Oklahoma's defense has really told me to shut the hell up. Beating Alabama, holding them to 21 points, beating Tennessee, holding that offense to 27 points, losing to Ole Miss, but I mean, still 34 points to Ole Miss. I mean, everyone gives up 34 points to Ole Miss. Even crap out South Carolina, only allowing 7 points. And then obviously this week, beating Missouri convincingly and only not even letting them in the end zone, holding the 2 field goals. Listen, you have a good defense and you have a quarterback like John Mateer who can make plays with his arm and make plays with his legs. They can find a way to win 1 playoff game. Now, are they going to win 2? I don't know. I'm not going to get too carried away, but listen, take care of business next week against LSU and let the rest play out. But good win for Oklahoma. Very good win. I vote for Beulah. Like you said, I didn't think he was coming back this season. I thought it was over and done with. He probably should have. Sat out because he was pretty brutal yesterday. Had like a 50 QBR. Wasn't very efficient. He was turning the ball over. Probably should have kept sitting out for the guys. But I mean, ever really since Beulah got hurt that first time the Alabama game, this Missouri team has looked a little feeble. They have not looked nearly as good as they did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. I was shocked that Beulah, I don't know if y'all picked up on this before the game, but he was completely off the injury report. Like, not even questionable, not doubtful, probable, nothing. After we were told, like Garrison said weeks ago, that he was done for the year. But yeah, it wasn't very effective for him to be there. He threw the ball decently, except when he threw it to the other team. Like Jake said, he turned the ball over way too much. Look, when you're on the side of being 3 for 15 on 3rd down, which Missouri was, you're going to lose. There's no way you're pulling out games like that when you're getting down in distance in that scenario 15 times in a game and only converting 3. They punted way too much or had to go over on downs way too much or settle for 3, which is what they did twice in the red zone, and that would change the whole outlook of the game. So, you got that. And also, I was not very impressed with Mateer. I talked about it before this game. I thought he was a little down. I didn't think, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe I took this game under. We talked about it, but I said that Mateer has been very, very unimpressive with throwing the football, and that continues. Look, Missouri's got a really good defense. Don't get me wrong. But I said they need to start stepping on the gas. Now, good thing for them, LSU barely beat Western Kentucky on their senior night this week. And so their chances of moving on are better than ever. Probably the easiest game going in for anybody else is looking to secure a playoff spot.
Yeah,
behind Indiana, Purdue.
Yeah, speaking of LSU's senior day, did y'all see Brian Kelly's son?
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah.
Free my boy.
Wild scene. And first of all, no one even knew Brian Kelly had a son on the team of LSU until yesterday, right? Like, no one was aware of that.
I didn't.
I mean, he had to be a long snapper, right? He's like number 50.
Yeah. He played like D2 somewhere and appeared in like 2 games and then transferred in. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awkward though. That is super awkward.
Free boy BK.
Because they didn't allow him to be there. Like, apparently it was like he put on his socials that the higher up said no, they wouldn't allow him to come for his son's senior day and walk him out.
Man,
that would have been a messy sight if Brian Kelly walked his son out. That would have been awesome. It didn't happen.
They should have let it happen, dude. Just for the content of it. Okay, let's talk about night game here between Pitt and Georgia Tech in the ACC. Things are shaking up once again. Pittsburgh wins 42-28. This game was really ugly. It was 28-0 to start off the game. I mean, Pitt could do no wrong. They pretty much just dominated the whole first quarter, let's say 22, 23 minutes of the game. And credit to Georgia Tech. They fought back. They made it 28-14 going into half. And they had an opportunity. They had a 1st and goal to make it 28-21, and Haynes King throws a 100-yard pick six. And from then on, they really just didn't stand a chance. Pittsburgh wins this game emphatically. It was the first time Georgia Tech had lost a home game since 2023. So really tough scene, especially because if they would have won that game, they would have been heading to the ACC championship game. Now the ACC standings are, basically down to Virginia, Pitt, SMU. Those are basically your teams you got left. But
Miami has a path. There's a slim path for
Mhm.
Miami to get there. I think they need like Virginia Tech to beat Virginia and maybe Cal to beat SMU or something they get in.
They're asking for
We'll
a lot.
see.
For a lot. It really seemed like Georgia Tech had the easiest path. They just had to beat
Mhm.
Pittsburgh, who was coming off a mollywhopping against Notre Dame at home at night, and they just can't get it done. I mean, it's not only could they not get it done, I mean, they got embarrassed in their home stadium. Caleb talked about the Missouri being 3 for 15 on third downs, Georgia Tech 3 or 14 in this one. And their first couple drives, I mean, it was like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. They could not do
Mhm.
anything. It was just brutal for Georgia Tech. And it was a game like we've seen them against Boston College, and they had the battle back and things like that. So it just has been going the wrong way for them for a little bit. And you could really see maybe at this point, like if you go back to like the Wake Forest game they had earlier this year, and in certain games, it seems like they've kind of just been, but the Colorado game at the beginning of the year, like they kind of just been playing with their food a lot. And this time, the team just fully, put it all, choked them out with their food, I guess is a good way to say it.
Mhm.
They absolutely could not figure it out once Pitt jumped on them. And so shame for Georgia Tech, really, because they kind of ruined the hype of the Georgia Tech game next week. It would have been, two 10-1 teams, it would have been really fun. But Georgia Tech has basically 0% chance to make the ACC championship. Therefore, they're not going to the playoff. Sad day for the Yellow Jackets. Pat Narduzzi, undefeated in must-win games.
That's very true. They have another must-win game this week, and then boom, they're heading off to the ACC championship game. That's a very good point, Garrison. I'm glad you put that in there. So this morning, driving from Atlanta to Augusta, I was listening to 680 The Fan, and the guy on there is like a big Georgia Tech fan, and he had a lot of really good points about this team. At the end of the day, Georgia Tech is incredibly flawed. Incredibly flawed. Their offense is a one-man show. Haynes King has to touch the ball 60 times a game for them to have success. He needs 20, 25, 30 carries. He needs 25 pass attempts. He needs 500 total yards for them to have a good offensive game. And then looking at their defense, just the last 3 games, their defense gave up 42 points to Pitt, 36 points to Boston College, and 48 points to NC State. Defense sucks. Defense is terrible. And when you have a bad defense and you have one person you're relying on offense, you might be able to have a couple, good wins string together, but it's going to come to a head at one point. And that's what we've seen, over the last really month for Georgia Tech is those flaws starting to catch up to them. Now, here's the scary thing if you're a Georgia Tech fan. How are you going to look back on this season? The overall record isn't going to be terrible. You're going to lose next week. You're going to go 9-3. But look back on the wins. Where is the exciting moment? Was it beating Clemson?
They did rush the field. I was there.
They did. The currently 5-6 Clemson Tigers, that's going to be the big moment out of the best season that you've had in, close to a decade. Is that win? Or was it the win when you went to Colorado, a team who's terrible, probably not going to make a bowl? Where's the big moment? Beating Duke?
Yeah. It's amazing to me their defense just fell limp. Like they have no pulse just out of the nowhere, like the last 2 or 3 games. And it's just completely let them down. Like Garrison talked about, like the drive chart in the first quarter is terrible. I think they went 3 and out 3 times, and the other 2 times they went over on downs, and then they threw a pick. So when you just have a monstrosity of a first quarter, and then you allow Georgia Tech to go up 21-0 in the first 10 minutes of the game, it's going to be hard to rally. It's going to be even hard to rally if you do what Garrison said earlier, which you throw a red zone pick after a 75-yard drive. That completely killed the game for them, in my opinion. And then, they even had a chance late.
Yep, they did. Yes.
Pitt sealed the deal with the run game right at the end of the game. Georgia Tech could not stop them. And it's a shame. It really is, because I feel like Georgia Tech somewhat was not out of nowhere for everybody, but they still, to me, feel like a wasted season here.
Yeah.
It has to be a wasted season because both of their losses, they probably should have won, right? Then you look at that Wake Forest game that they probably should have lost, but they were able to sneak away with a win of that one. And now they're not even going to go to the ACC when the ACC was as wide open as it has been in a very long time. Don't have to worry about Clemson. Don't have to worry about Florida State. Miami has 2 ACC losses. This was the year for Tech. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That's why, like, I know overall, like, you put it up to Georgia Tech standards, like, this will probably be, you know, a good year in all things considered. And then you have to start having a conversation about Brent Key. People are going to come knocking at his door. I'm telling you this right now. I know it hasn't been floated out in too many rumors, but the amount of jobs that we have open right now. Imagine if Kiffin leaves, Ole Miss is going to be open, and then one of LSU and Florida is going to be open. Penn State's open. What if Penn State is not? Yeah, that's a big one too.
Auburn.
Arkansas, like, if one of these big guys are coming to Brent Key's door, like, I know Brent Key went to Georgia Tech. He probably has a lot of connections. He likes playing for him, but a big program that, hey, walk around in our 90,000 seat capacity stadium. Look at our $20.5 million NIL evaluation we have for budgeted this year. Look at this $9 million a year that we can give you versus what you're getting at Tech. We'll see it. We'll see. because I'll also say this, like, when he went to Georgia Tech was in a pretty bad place, right? He built him up. Part of you can say that, and he has already kind of exceeded what he can do at Georgia Tech, because you're losing Haynes. What's he going to look like next year? Get out while the kettle's hot.
So, like, I feel like Buster Faulkner, is a hot name as well, is OC, for potential jobs. So where would he be without him and things like that? So, no, I agree. Caleb, what do you think?
I wonder what their identity is going to be whenever Haynes King leaves. Like, what is going to be Georgia Tech football next year, regardless whether Brent Key's there or not? Like, because it's time for him to go. I mean, this is it. He's not coming back again. So, what is there going to be their next cornerstone? Because when you think Georgia Tech football the last 2-3 years, it's Haynes King. Like, it's not Brent Key.
Yeah, I mean, the entire philosophy has to change, because this was something the guy from 680 was talking about this morning. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be next year, but it's some like gunslinger that's going to be coming in. He's going to be throwing it a lot, which is completely different than what we've seen over the last 2 years in the Haynes King era. Like, Haynes can throw the ball, but I mean, yesterday he had 20 carries. Not going to be seeing that.
So, Ohio State beat Rutgers. Indiana didn't play. A&M beat Stanford. Georgia won. Texas Tech didn't play. I'm trying to go. But anyway, I want to bring this up. Alabama played Eastern Illinois yesterday. And, I really don't look too much into it. They won 56-0. But Ty Simpson, 11 for 16, 147 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. 47 QBR. He's been struggling. That's like a month straight of bad football for Ty Simpson.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then you want to take it a step further, look at, they play Auburn next week. Deuce Knight went nuts yesterday. Again, it was against Mercer, but Deuce Knight had a pretty insane stat line. See,
they're going to play Ashton next week. There's no way they stick with that guy.
There's no way. If they do, that is
played Mercer. Go look at the first play and look. Like, no offense to Mercer. Go look at the first play of the game. You tell me who he's playing against. What does it look like?
I feel like you have to play Deuce. Why play Ashton Daniels? Why play him?
Because he's played good.
Why didn't he play then the other day?
They're trying to save a red shirt for next year.
Silly, dude. That's so silly. Okay. Notre Dame put a molly whopping on Syracuse. That was just absolutely ridiculous.
Stat from this game, it was 28-0.
21-0 before Notre Dame even got on offense.
Yes, and then Notre Dame had a 2-play drive that was like 30 seconds of possession, and it was 28-0. It was 28-0. They had possessed the ball on offense for 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive stat line is like nothing to do. Like, CJ Carr threw the ball 9 times for 49 yards in this game. They ran for 329.
Another thing to add on what we were talking about with Brent Key. I mean, last year, homeboy in Syracuse was one of the hottest names in football. He could have gotten a job elsewhere. Loses some players. Quarterback gets hurt early in the season. Oh, nobody wants to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Yep. BYU gets a big win against Cincy, so they're almost in the Big 12 championship. Utah beats Kansas State. They're kind of staying alive for maybe a backdoor potential spot there. Miami beats Virginia Tech. Vandy beats Kentucky, smokes them. So sets up a big game next week against Tennessee, who we'll bring up in a second. Texas beats Arkansas. Archman had like 6 touchdowns yesterday, so good for him. Michigan beats Maryland. So that Michigan, Ohio State, here we go. Winner's going to go to the Big 10 championship. Could you imagine? Can you imagine?
I can imagine it.
I'm predicting it. Let me just go ahead and tell you. That is something I'm very excited to see. I have a future on Michigan to make the playoffs. I've had it all year long. and would love to see that cash. But to talk about Tennessee, Vandy, that's a big game next week. Tennessee went and beat Florida in Gainesville for the first time since 2003. We were with Caleb Spear while it was happening. It's a sad scene, Caleb. I mean, it's been a sad season, but you thought there was some life. They got Chris and Kirk on the call for a 3-7 Florida team at home. There's going to be some life and just nothing. Absolutely nothing. Any comment?
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, honestly. I mean, the stadium was clear after halftime. Before it was sold out. It was rocking in the first half, but it was 31-0 at halftime. 31-0. Now we did win the second half. Just saying, we shut them out. Shut them out, 11-0. Got some mo going into the Florida State game. That's what we're on to. It's rivalry week. So everything that's happened before now is out the door. It's a one-game season. This is my Super Bowl.
Yeah, they make sure to catch Florida State on Tubo this week. It's going to be a great showing.
That said that they should play that game in between Pop Warner games. So, they usually play them at halftime. They should put the Pop Warner game before it after this.
Oh, man. Wisconsin beats Illinois. It's a big win for them, and that kind of wraps up any big shout out. Kennesaw State got a big win, 8-3 now, and I think one win away from going for the Conference USA Championship next week. So I wanted to bring up that the Lane Kiffin stuff gets a little more interesting because they had that announcement yesterday, or not yesterday, but the other day, that they are going to have a final ruling the day after the Egg Bowl. So next Saturday, because the Egg Bowl is on Friday, that we will know where Lane Kiffin is going. Interesting comment for like the AD for a school to say, be like, our coach would tell us what he's doing after, which means his coach still doesn't know what he's doing. I'm sure after watching Florida last night, he was just itching to get to Gainesville. So same thing with
watching LSU. Yeah,
I'm sure he's just itching to go over there. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think about this situation? This time next week, we'll know where Lane Kiffin's going. Where do we think he's going?
Well, it's interesting because Caleb gave me a different little viewpoint of this yesterday, but I mean, you go on Twitter, you go on Instagram, everything is saying he's going to LSU, everything. And so I was kind of in the thought process that that's where he was going. I mean, we saw the tweet come out the other day saying that they're offering him a $90 million contract. He's 10 years, 90 million, something like that. And then they were going to offer him $25 million a year in NIL funds, which Caleb also pointed out to me is above the salary cap, what they're even able to spend in a year. But maybe it's just smoke, and maybe he's planning on going to Gainesville. But honestly, I'll say this. At this point, I don't really just see why he doesn't stay. If he does leave, and if he does stay, they win on Friday, make the playoff, like why leave to go somewhere else? All that you've built in the last, 5-6 years, right, that you've been in Oxford and led to this moment where you're finally taking this team to the playoff, and then you're dipping for another job. Now, obviously, it's a part of Kiffin. Like, it's what he does. It's what he's done. We've seen this story. We've seen it happen many times. It's all video pop up. It's like 20 years ago, or I don't know how long ago, but when he left Tennessee to go to the Raiders, or to USC, excuse me, because it was like his dream job at the time. So we know he can do it. We know he's liable to do it. I just don't see the point. I don't see the point for it anymore.
Exactly. And because he's already done that as well. Like you just said, he's already done that whole movie. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And you've learned from your mistakes, and you say the Oxford made you a better person. So I just don't see it. But Caleb, I mean, we know you want him. You think you're getting him?
I'm trying not to get my hopes up. I honestly think if I was to guess today, I would bet that he stays at Ole Miss. If he does leave, though, I don't think he's going to LSU. And all the reasons that Jake just pointed out as well are reasons to add on to that. We're talking about the money. Like, the money's going to be the same. I think if anything, now that the money leaked from LSU, Florida can go in there and offer him $15 million, which they had already been rumored to do back. They were prepared to do so in September. So,
I do think 9 sounded kind of light, if I'm being honest. I did think that seemed a little lesser than
it's going to be for the Florida deal that leaked back in September, which nobody talked about, but it leaked. And I think I spoke about on this podcast was like 6 years, $90 million, which is a lot of money. A lot of money. Okay, but Lane doesn't care about money. I think he cares about his family. I think he cares about where Knox is going to be. I think he cares about his legacy. He can't go to LSU if he likes his legacy. Ole Miss fans will hate him. He will be a hated man in the rest of the SEC. And in fact, I honestly think if he goes to LSU, he will not be there longer than 10 years. He will be gone.
Because he loses 3 times, they're gonna chop his head off. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You lose 3 times at Ole Miss, and like, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Look at last season. Last season, they lost 3 games, and it was still like Yeah, we're ready for next season. Like, we're going to reload. We're going to be good. And they're excited for Kiffin to be back. You lose 3 games. Look at Brian Kelly. Look at Brian Kelly. I know the wheels fell off this year. I get that. But I'm thinking outside of this year, they were already pissed off at him. He was losing 3 to 4 games a year. He can do that at Ole Miss, and he'll be fine. And then every 4 or 5 years, he's going to have a really good team and take off. Also, I'll say this: Oxford, Mississippi does not have an issue with money. Does not have an issue with money. There's a lot of money in Oxford, Mississippi. They just have to start getting a little bit more from these, all these millionaires that live there. How do you get it? Show them that it's a profitable investment. If he can go to the playoffs this year, win a game, win 2 games, sell out, Vaught Hemingway for a playoff game, get a bunch of TV deal, get a bunch of money that way, start paying them off. That's a good way to start making money.
Yeah. And I think also too, like Lane, if he stays in Oxford, it's well known that he's going to get whatever he wants. He doesn't get told no in Oxford already. So if he's turning down all these other schools' offers, it's only raising the bar for what Ole Miss is going to do for him or the next coach. So if he stays, like he could be there for 20 years, get the town street name named after him, and add another, like make that bowl go from 1 deck to 2 to maybe 3, like what happened at Alabama and all these other schools that you've seen over the years. Like you're talking about turning them into a perennial power. And I think they could, because you guys can tell me this is wrong. I fully believe that Lane Kiffin, as long as he's in football, he's so seasoned, he's going to be a top 5 coach. He's going to have them ready to go. They're going to be competitive, whether he's at Ole Miss or he's at Florida. If he goes to LSU, though, like I said, I don't think he's going to stay. He's not going to be able to maintain his legacy there. And it's going to be kind of down the drain. It's going to feel like another jump to Tennessee or a jump to Oakland, in my opinion. If he stays at Florida, a little bit different, but nobody knows. Nobody has a clue what Lane's going to do. And I think that's why, you hear around the world and see on Twitter that everybody wants clicks about what they think Lane Kiffin's going to do, because everybody else knows. Even somebody at the party last night tried to tell me that the LSU deal was done. Well, I saw yesterday the Florida deal was done, and a week ago the LSU deal was done, but 2 weeks ago the Florida deal was done. Like it's all over the place. I don't think he knows what he's going to do. Let it play out. Let us see what happens. And if he stays at Ole Miss, good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. And maybe he'll be going to California. They just Cal just fired their coach Justin Wilcox today. So who knows? Maybe a sneak attack there. Okay.
Just imagine he loses the Egg Bowl and then pieces out for LSU the next day. My God,
that would be crazy. That would be crazy. And I just want to get out to everybody else that's like, oh, is Lane Kiffin going to go or not? Like, to give the same knowledge I gave Jake. Where there's smoke is usually not where it's supposed to be going for the job in college football. That is the way it's done. The best searches are quiet, ultra quiet. Like the John Summerall thing wasn't even supposed to get out, and they canceled the meeting because it got out. So I have confidence in that.
All right. Okay. Just real quick, want to go through these conference standings. I mentioned the ACC real quick. Is Virginia, Pitt, SMU all have 1 loss. I believe Virginia, they just win, they're in. And I think if Pitt plays Miami, I believe Pitt, they win, they're in. If not, if SMU wins, they're in. So it'll be interesting to see whatever shit team we get out of the ACC. SMU and Pitt both lose because Miami wins. There might be a tiebreaker scenario there, depending on if Virginia loses as well. Either way, the ACC team is, unless it's somehow Miami, is not going to be ranked anything higher than 15, maybe, if we're lucky. Big 12, Texas Tech and BYU have a pretty good stranglehold. They just win next week, they're in. If they lose, Utah or Arizona State, depending on who loses, may be able to sneak in there. I would not count it, though, the way BYU and Texas Tech are playing. Big 10, Indiana, they're not going to lose to Purdue, so we can go ahead and just, put that in pin that Indiana's playing in Indianapolis. In the first weekend of December, Ohio State, Michigan, winners go into the Big Ten championship. That's all you need to know. So that's going to be fucking awesome to watch. Yeah. And then the SEC, obviously, it's A&M and Bama. They just need to win next week, and they're going. One of them loses, Georgia's going. If they both lose and Ole Miss wins, Georgia and Ole Miss could play. So just so you know. Okay, just wanted to catch everybody else. And also because just so everybody knows, the American Conference, North Texas, Tulane, and Navy all have 1 loss. And North Texas beat Navy. So North Texas, Tulane looks like the most potential conference championship for the American right now. So that's ended up being your G5 winner, James Madison. Still sitting
Yeah.
there. I feel like everyone keeps talking about James Madison, but like they're not. I don't know. They're not in the rankings. So, but I guess you got to kind of keep them out there, ready.
They were I'll just spoil it right now. They were my pick for, I think that win yesterday, I mean, against a power four opponent is impressive. I think they're good. I think they're the best team. I think they should get in. I did.
It would be good. Okay, let's get into our playoff rankings for this week. Caleb, what do we got?
So not much shake up this week. The top 10 actually stayed the same. Okay, so we've got Ohio State at 1, Indiana at 2, A&M at 3, Georgia, Ole Miss 4, 5. Or no,
Whoa.
excuse me, Texas Tech is 5. Sorry, Texas Tech's 5, Ole Miss is 6, Oregon 7, Bama's 8, or Oklahoma's 8. Sorry, Oklahoma's 8, Bama's 9, Notre Dame 10. We had all three different teams at 11. And I'm just going to air them out. Garrison had Virginia as his number 11 team. Okay. Jake had Miami. I had Vanderbilt as my number 11.
Okay, but who's your ACC person?
The ACC. Well, I'm assuming that it's going to end up being Miami. But I'm not giving. I'm making them earn it. Basically, I'm setting up my rankings so that if BYU and the teams in front of them lose, like I know that somebody's going to automatically get in, but I'm just playing ball in case for the rankings before they get the automatic qualifier in. Like I don't have. You know what I'm saying? I'm not putting
The
an ACC team in at
just
like 16.
they just make it so complicated. Why can't the ACC just like be good and it would be so
Honestly.
easy? Because I was like going through it and I had to ask myself, like, okay, are we ranking the top 12 or are we making a 12-team playoff prediction? And I had to get like back and forth like multiple times. But I hope it's Miami. I do. I think they're the only team in the ACC that's worth a damn, dude.
I do too. And it's unfortunate that the rules state that you have to include everybody because, like, honestly, I would be totally fine leaving their ass out of the playoff this year as a conference unless Miami got in as at large.
So who is 12?
You guys both voted Tulane. I stuck with JMU.
Okay.
So Tulane is the group of 5.
Okay. So
Just didn't like the loss that they had here pretty recently that wasn't to a very good team. Like, I know they lost to Louisville. No, it wasn't Louisville, was it? That was JMU.
Tulane lost to like UTSA.
Yeah, that was a really bad loss. That's the one.
Yeah, that was an awful loss. Okay, here's what maybe for when I put the graphic out on for the 11th spot, I'm just gonna put like an ACC trash can or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the NFL Week 12. Want to start off with we will talk about the Falcons. They got a win today against the Saints. Didn't give up an offensive touchdown either, so good job for the defense. With Drew Brees on the call, by the way. But we'll talk about that in a second. I want to talk about the Colts-Chiefs game because I was able to watch this game. Colts seemed like they had this one in the bag pretty much the whole time. I mean, you're sitting there in the fourth quarter. It was 20-9. You know, like 10 minutes to go, and you're thinking, man, Chiefs gonna be 5-6. Like they're not going to the playoffs. Like it's a far cry, you know. And sure enough, the voodoo magic, they find it and win the game in overtime, 23-20. Bunch of overtime games today in the NFL.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes goes for over 300. Rashee Rice. It seems like ever since he's came back, he's just been the main focal point of the offense, and he shows out for him week in, and week out. Had 141 yards. Seems like the Colts are really limited, in terms of what Jonathan Taylor was doing, who's kind of just been the backbone of the team all season, really. They had 11 penalties, so they were kind of, maybe the refs were, wearing red and white today as well. What did you guys think about this game? No, and also, sorry, real quick. This is pretty wild. Chiefs had 33 first downs to the Colts 10.
Wow, that is a damning stat. That's crazy. Well, I'll say this: just the first kind of combat in the whole ref discussion. In the first quarter, Travis Kelce scored the touchdown. They call it back for a face mask. I think it was on. They called it on Jawan Taylor that he just did not even grab the face mask. He had his hand like on the defensive end's like helmet. Terrible call. That wound up costing him 4 points, but. Yeah, I mean, the game seemed like it was in control for Indy, for 3 quarters, but that last play of the third quarter was like a 50-yard completion to Rashee Rice, and he gets down inside the red zone. And I started thinking, like, yeah, this is gonna happen because this is good on 2 fronts. Well, it's good on one front, and I'll say my other point, but I don't know if I consider that good or not. It's good for the Jags. This is a huge loss because the Jags need the Colts to start losing some games. And the other one I was gonna say, which I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but kind of want the Chiefs to make the playoffs. I want to see Mahomes in January. I mean, come on. I don't want to not see. I don't want to not see him make it.
Whoa, this guy, dude.
You would like to get the playoffs.
Dude, the diva comments just stay stronger. This guy wants
You're better than that, Jake.
just come on, dude.
He's a great quarterback. I'm rooting for greatness here. He's a great Q. I would like to see him play more January football. Sue me. I don't want to see him win it, but I wouldn't mind it.
You know, if he gets there, he's gonna win it.
That is fair.
You got to keep him out.
The play at the beginning of the game, I don't know if you guys saw the Mahomes pick at the very beginning of the game where Latu tipped an RPO and caught it himself and almost scored. I thought that at that moment I was like, oh shit, it's on. And then the Colts ran it up in the first quarter. Still felt like in the first half, like Garrison said, they had full control of the game. But the Chiefs really committed to stopping the run, and it cooled that Colts offense off very fast in the third quarter and second half. And also when the Chiefs are able to get like 300 total offensive yards in the fourth quarter and overtime, they're probably going to win the game. I mean, I know obviously it took a bunch of effort for them to go off in the fourth quarter in order to get back into that game, but even still, like it shouldn't have really even went to overtime. They got like the 3-yard line and got stuffed 3 straight plays, had to burn all their timeouts, and then ended up settling for 3 just to send it OT. But then they stop the Colts and get the ball going downfield. G. Rice was huge in overtime and in the fourth quarter, and they luck up and win a game. And the Colts are still sitting good. Like Jake said, the Jags are trying to catch them, but the Chiefs' season is still alive, and that's not good.
Yep. It's not good for anybody but Jake, I guess.
For the record, I was going to say it was good, and then I said I don't know if we can say this is good. I did say that. Just putting that out there.
So if they were 5-6 though after today, I mean it was going to be very hard for them to make the playoffs.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is I've never been one to turn down a Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes January matchup. Maybe a Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson in January. Never been one to turn one of those down.
Yeah. Who always wins those?
Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, the Bears beat the Steelers today, 31-28. You know, when me and Caleb were talking about this last week when we were previewing this game, and the Bears, I mean, they're first in the North. I mean, they're 8-3. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. Just absolutely incredible. And they did not have to play Aaron Rodgers today, so that was huge. Aaron, did you guys hear that Aaron Rodgers in pregame was going out and like flicking people off in the crowd in the game before the game?
That's awesome.
The hand that was not hurt.
Gosh, but he ended up not playing. Oh, go ahead.
I just said that's awesome.
But anyway, they played Aaron Rodgers did not play. He obviously has the messed up left wrist. But the Bears come back. They were down 21-14, score 17 unanswered. To take a 31-21 lead, and then, you know, basically kind of ice the game away. Caleb Williams just continues a good season, had 3 touchdown passes. Bears defense had 2 takeaways that led to 2 scores. Mason Rudolph, 2 turnovers. So probably, it's Mason Rudolph. I mean, I know what you're going to expect out of him. He's, you're going to get average football. I mean, the Chicago Bears having the lead in the NFC North, with the Lions, barely scraping by the Giants today. The Giants just losing by typical Giants fashion. But, the Packers, they got it on them. It is insane to see what they're doing. And the Steelers, they didn't have Aaron Rodgers, so you can kind of give them a hard time. But they're down 6-5. And here come the Baltimore Ravens, people. Here come the Baltimore Ravens. So these 2 teams, one that's had a division lead all year, kind of watching that slip away. And then one that we haven't seen have division leads in years. It seems like they are going in the right direction.
They 100% are. And I will say this, Caleb Williams is that guy. All right. He got clowned a little bit for the finger painting and the phone case and crying at USC. And that how quickly people forget. I mean, this guy was a monster at Southern Cal. He was incredible. He was so good. Got that team very close to the playoff, won the Heisman. Number one pick for a reason. And you have him with Matt Eberflus last year. No one's going to succeed. Got some good pieces around him. Got a good head coach, and they can start building. I'm happy for Caleb. He seems like a good guy. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm really happy for him. Looks like Kyle Monungai is starting to lead as their lead back, which I think is probably a good thing. Unfortunate for DeAndre Swift, and I drafted him in 5 of my 6 fantasy leagues, so that's also unfortunate. Got me pointing down
traded for
today, and traded for him. But yeah, good win. The only thing I'll take away from this one, because I felt this game was featured on Red Zone quite a lot. I hate that last drive of the game when Pittsburgh got the ball back with a chance to win. Man, I wish that was Aaron Rodgers. I wish he was able to try it out there, because he'll probably never be able to play on Soldier Field again. which is a little bittersweet. But that would have made that moment. Just win or lose for him would have made it so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
If he'd have just trotted out there just for the last drive.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
It was really cool to see the Chicago Bears keep winning. And honestly, like I said on this podcast earlier this season, it's a coach's league. Ben Johnson's that guy. He's got this team rolling. He's got Caleb Williams unlocked, like Jake talked about. And yeah, I mean, the Detroit Lions are trying to play catch up, and the Green Bay Packers are doing their best, but they still don't look that great in their wins so far. So the Bears, they've answered the bell. 8 out of 9 is a hot streak. That is probably putting them up there with New England in terms of one of the hottest teams in football, and that's a good sign at this time of the year.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like guys like you said, how do you say his name? Kyle Monangai?
Monangai.
Guys like him, but I think like guys like Roma Dunze and Luther Burden and all them showing up this season.
Dawson Loveland, another touchdown today too.
So I feel like they've really learned how to generate that offense for the better. Okay, let's move around, talk about some other games from the early slate. Packers smoked the shit out of the Vikings 23-6. A big win for them to kind of stay up with the Bears, like we mentioned. AJ McCarthy, I mean, these are looking like his Michigan stat lines more and more every week. 12 and 19, 87 yards, 2 picks. You know, just a terrible year to draft Justin Jefferson in fantasy, you know, me. And the Pack, you just mentioned it. I can't remember which one of you. I think it was Caleb. How they don't, you know, the Packers and Lions, they don't look that good in their wins. Like they dominated in defense, but the offense still just doesn't seem like it's, you know, that great in Green Bay, and that's why there's been all the talk about LaFleur and everything. And I think we talked about that a little bit last week, but not much to take away to this game other than the JD McCarthy is not good.
Yeah, and when you have 2 quarterbacks, I mean, we've talked about this multiple times on this roster, excuse me, on this podcast, but they had Daniel Jones and they had Sam Darnold on their roster last year. How do you run them off for JJ? It never made sense. It never made sense. The whole draft process, people hyping him up to be, you know, the savior of a franchise, that he's going to be so good, he's going to be great. He was never good. I just don't get it. And the Vikings are gonna have to make some decisions this offseason. Like, do you go back into a season next year with JJ being your undisputed number 1? Do you bring in competition? Do you draft somebody? Because I mean, they have talent. I'll say this about the Minnesota Vikings. They have as much talent as anyone else in the NFL. They have 2 really good receivers. They have really good tight end. They got good backs. They have a good defense. JJ McCarthy is the reason they're not winning more games.
And a great coach.
One of the best.
You're talking about questions, though. Like, if they keep losing, he's going to have to be asked some questions or answer some, too. Like, he's not above anything. I understand he's won, like, Coach of the Year, been in there for them and won multiple games, but he's part of the Sam Darnold decision just as much as anybody else.
Sure. Sure. It just is it's an odd place to put yourself. Like, Sam Darnold was really, really good last year. Why did they let him leave the building?
They didn't want to pay him $40 million a year, which that's what you're going to get for good quarterbacks. And you're getting by with paying JJ McCarthy, I don't know, probably 9.5 because he's on one of the high rookie deals and not working out.
Look at the trajectory of what Seattle's been doing this year, because they were down last year. They signed Sam Darnold. Now they're, you know, him and Jackson Smith and Jigba had the best connection in the NFL. And now, I mean, look at the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings suck. The Vikings are not good. The Vikings do not scare anybody.
They said for chemistry, too, like with Sam Darnold, with Justin Jefferson, you know, he was talking about him earlier. Like that takes a lot of wind out of their sails.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, Patriots beat the Bengals today, Caleb. Joe Burrow was practicing this week. I thought that he might be able to play this game. Obviously, they didn't have Jamar Chase because he was spitting in people's face last week. But the Patriots, they're the first team to 10 wins, and they're 6-0 on the road.
Let's go.
How do we feel, Caleb?
Let's go. Hyped up, dude. Honestly, just full disclaimer, we had a day yesterday, folks. If you missed out on what was going on at Mutation Brewery last night, we had a day. Had to take some Z's in the mid-afternoon today. Found them during the New England game. Fun fact. And it was great, though, because I went to sleep. We were down 13-0, I think, because it was bleak. Drake May threw a pick 6 like in the first quarter. It did not look good. Went to sleep, woke up, checked my phone, dub. I mean, that's how can you draw it up better? There's no better way to get your Sunday afternoon rolling after a nap and your team. You wake up and your team's winning. When you went to sleep, they were losing. So, you know, and that I don't want to get too far into my deep thought, but we got to have some more people be able to watch whatever games they want to.
You got any comments on this game, Jay?
The Patriots did not look good today. They were playing a terrible team, and it came down to a last possession. I mean, like, a win is a win in the NFL. A win is a win in the NFL. But I don't want to sound like a hater. I just don't think the Patriots are as good as their record shows. I don't. They've had a lot of really close wins. I mean, shoot, they beat the Atlanta Falcons by 1 point because we missed an extra point and we missed a field goal. Should have won that game in regulation. And today, I just don't know. I mean, I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're bad, but
You don't think
I
their
don't know.
first team to 10 wins good?
Not really. Not really.
It's hard to
I
win
don't-
10 games, Jake.
It is. And I'm not, like I said, and you're 6-0 on the road. I mean, I feel like that is the stat. Winning your first 6 games on the road in the season is incredibly impressive.
It's even more impressive when you were like a top 5 pick the last 2 years and no expectations. Like if they go 10-7, it's going to feel disappointing, but it was still a very good year for New England football.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see the Patriots in January, almost certainly. So we'll find out. Maybe Patrick Mahomes will have to come to New England, and we'll find out.
That
would be awesome.
Mm.
That would be cool, especially if Brady's on the call, gets a Fox game. Chills.
Okay, Ravens played the Jets today, 23-10. We're not going to spend a lot of time. I just want to say this: Lamar Jackson the last couple weeks has been awful in fantasy football, which means he's probably being awful on the field. He only had like 6 fantasy points today. He had only 153-yard passing, no touchdowns, none on the ground. It's a good thing the Ravens have a weak schedule, and maybe they'll have time to get it right. They just seem like they're not playing at the elite level. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I don't think it's a wrong take. Their defense had to make some plays today. Kyle Hamilton made some big plays. Finally saw Derrick Henry is kind of getting it going, but if I am the Ravens, I'm not sweating this too much. Now you're now to 6-5. You're tied for the lead in the AFC North. I feel like that should be the main focus. They've won 5 games in a row. Yes, I agree with you to a part. Like it's Lamar Jackson. We're not seeing the vintage Lamar of him just running all over the place, making crazy plays. But I wouldn't stress about it too much. I think they're probably going to win the North now. So
I would agree. Sloppy win, be damned, it's a win. You can take whatever adjective you want to put on the front of it, regardless. They are first in the division now. They got room to improve. There's still more games to play. They can get on a hot streak right here at the end of the year. And look, if they go into the playoffs rolling, they got a good chance at anybody in the AFC with the quarterback they got, especially if he's healthy.
Agreed. Okay. Giants lose to the Lions 34-27. I was able to watch a little bit of this game. First of all, the receiving touchdown Jameis Winston had, best
cinema
freaking touchdown of the season. That was awesome. Not only did he catch it, he caught it, juked the guy out, stiffed arm, threw it to the ground, and had to run another 15 yards before he scored a touchdown. And then the celebration after, just, oh, God, how do you not love it? But let me just say this. The Lions, but we did that podcast last week before they played Sunday night. They did not look good against the Eagles. We just talked about a minute ago how, with the Bears and and the Lions and Packers not looking good in the North. The Giants had them on the ropes, and this game went to overtime, and really the Giants made a questionable call to not kick a field goal, to go up 6 and to stay up 3, and allowing the Lions to kind of go in and have a chance to kick a game time field goal, which another ball that just went. If you guys had seen Jake Bates kick to go to overtime, it was in and then it was out and then it slid right back in. The balls are moving like crazy. But Jahmyr Gibbs is just having an incredible season. He had 15 carries, 219 yards, had like 3 explosive touchdowns today. But the Giants, I feel like the Giants, they keep that stat rolling of they still haven't won their last 13 road games. But dude, their last 3 games, Bears, Packers, Lions, they've all been 7 points or less losses. You go to the Broncos, they had a 1-point loss. They have played good teams close all year long, but cannot get it done. Whether Daboll's there or Jackson Dart's playing or Scadabo's playing, but I don't know.
Yeah. Jameis for MVP. Yeah, you said it right. He made some plays through the air too. He was keeping him in it. But the Lions, I don't have a ton to say about this one, but the Lions do seem a little flawed, at least compared to how they've been like the last 3 to 4 seasons where they've kind of been a wagon. They needed a Jahmyr Gibbs masterclass to even sniff a win in this game. And if you're relying on that against the Giants, who's to say there's not going to be a game in January where it's not going to be clicking for you too, and you're going to have to say, hey, Jahmyr, go 80 yards on the first play of this overtime drive to get us a win, and he ain't going to be able to do it. So if I'm the Lions, listen, a win is a win. It's in this league. I think it's the 6th or 7th time we said it already in this podcast. But this league, it is hard to come around wins. It is hard to win games in this league. So I don't care if it's the Giants. I don't care if it's the Raiders, the Titans, whoever it is. There's a very good chance. The Bengals,
The Falcons.
it's tough to come across wins. So win is a win. This is a good one for them. Keep it going. If they would have lost today with the Bears win, it would have gotten kind of scary hours throughout the entire NFC North. So, yeah, to keep it moving.
Yeah, my buddy Sam was a week early on the picks for Jameis Winston to just absolutely go off because he only had 18 completions debut, threw for 366. Like, he is going to push the ball down the field whenever he's in there. And yeah, if you haven't seen the play where he called a ball out of the backfield for a touchdown, it's going to be like the play of the year. Like, I think it's probably pretty settled. We're almost at the end of the year, so there's only a month and a half left for something else crazy to happen, but it can't get much better than Jameis Winston, who it is making that kind of play in that game.
All right. Yeah, loved it. Seahawks beat the Titans 30-24. Everyone beats Titans. We don't talk about this much. Just want to say one stat. Jackson Smith named Jigba. He passed DK Metcalf today for most receiving yards in a season for a Seahawks receiver. He's got over 1,304 and counting. This is the week 12. This is week 12.
11 games. 11 games. Insane. Receiver in football. Best receiver in football. I don't think it's a discussion anymore.
Crazy. And it seems like Justin Jefferson was the best last year. And who was throwing to him? Sam Darnold. Darnold doing it again. All right. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about the game. Okay. Jags beat. Well, let's talk about the Falcons first. Falcons beat the Saints. We're getting now in an afternoon slate. Falcons Saints was a 4:25 game. Drew Brees was on the call. You can say what you want about that.
Interesting. Yeah.
In New Orleans, great game defensively for the Falcons. Did not give up a single touchdown. The only touchdown the Saints had was a pick six that Kirk Cousins threw after we were already up 10-0. Offense
that hit Kyle Pitts in the hands.
Kyle Pitts had several drops today. I think he had at least 3 or 4. But hey, the Falcons got a huge win. You wanted to, I think you brought it up last week, Jake, and I watched a good bit of it today. I mean, the amount of play action under center stuff they had going for Cousins today, that really seemed to open up the offense. Shout out Darnell Mooney, got a touchdown today. I bet that plus 280, cash it.
Oh, good call.
Yep. Knew it. Didn't see it happen. I was taking a nap, but woke up, saw it was happen. So that was nice. But Falcons, first time they've won since week 5, or week 6, because we it was our 5th game, but it was week 6 on Monday night. That was the first time we've won since the Bills game.
Yeah, which is just crazy. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the main point I was going to lead off with is how frustrating it was to watch the offense actually be resemble an NFL offense today. Multiple play action, under center, working outside zone, under center. I mean, that was the best we've looked on offense in over a month. And we didn't have our starting quarterback, and we didn't have Drake London, who's a borderline top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. There's no excuses for it. And it's I'll say this, regardless of how the season's going, beating the Saints is a big deal. Never going to be too good to beat the Saints, and there is probably a reality if we would have lost today, it would have been Raheem's last game. I think that's a very strong possibility that it would have been, but I'm glad we beat the Saints because I said it on this podcast, and sorry, Dad, if you're listening, but fuck the Saints. I hate them more than any other franchise in all of football. And so it was good to see. Good to see. How much longer y'all think Cam Jordan's going to be in the NFL? Because I don't watch a lot of Saints football, but he got a sack on a strip sack on Kirk Cousins. It's man, did I even know he was still playing football?
He's been there for a while. This has got to be
forever.
14th, 15th year,
16th, 17th,
maybe more than that. I have a little slight take here. I hope I don't piss anybody off by this. I think the Falcons got a quarterback. I think they got their guy. I think this is the way that they need to keep it rolling. Keep the guy, bring him back. I mean, Penix is going to be hurt the most of the year, probably next year. Look, you say what you want to. What offense looks better? Penix's brand or Kirk Cousins' offense?
His offense. Kirk Cousins' offense, 100,000%. And I will not argue on that. My thing is, why can't we run Mike in that offense? Why can't Mike get under center and run play action?
He's closer to being a bionicle. That's why, I would assume.
Dude, you're comparing him to a 38-year-old Kirk Cousins who tore his
Achilles.
I don't know. Mike can move. We've seen it multiple times. When he gets outside the pocket and he has to run, he can run. I just don't see why we couldn't do that. We had an entire offseason to get him up to speed on play action passes, and we can't do it. That's what's so frustrating. And Caleb, I understand, I think Kirk played a good game today. I truly do. There's no way he's our week 1 starter next year. There's no way he's on our
I agree.
roster because he's going to cost so much money. Now, I was actually having this conversation with Grace earlier, my girlfriend. If we maybe can explore with Kirk and say, listen, we're gonna cut you, but we want to sign you back on a 1 year, $15 million contract. We'll do that. But we're not going to still pay you $35 million because also the same thing. Nobody is. Once he gets cut, there's no shot he's going to be able to get that contract that he's promised next year outside of his guarantees, which I think we're on the hook for like 10 in guarantees. So like maybe throw another 5 on that, come back and be here for another year. You know the system, you know the guys in the building, you know the playmakers. Why not? Instead of going somewhere else, 38 years old, I could be on brand with that. But my last point I'll say here, I'll tell you a name that I started thinking about today for week 1 for the Atlanta Falcons in 2026. I kind of want us to go get Jameis Winston for week 1.
No.
I can see it. I think he could fit. Now, Stetson would be awesome.
Kirk is definitely doing like a free agent tryout the next couple of weeks. If
Mhm.
he plays well, I mean, you gotta start thinking about some things.
It'll be interesting. Okay, let's talk about the Jags-Cardinals game. Dick, I mean, I didn't see much of this, but it seems like we got another overtime game, 27-24 win. Jags are now 7-4, and also 2 games above the Chiefs in the playoff race for that wild card. I know you talked about it was big because the Colts lost for the South, but also even if the Colts, are able to keep winning, Jags have that win over the Chiefs, and so 7-4, 6-5, but with the win, basically 2 games ahead of them.
Yeah.
The wild card race, because it doesn't seem like the Chiefs are going to win a division, so the wild card is a good place to be as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was for the 7th time in this podcast. Hey, every time you go on the road in this league and you come out with a win, it's a good win. Not really today. I'll be honest. This should not have been a close game.
Interceptions for Trevor Lawrence?
He threw 3 picks today.
3 interceptions today.
If I'm being honest, I was a little bit more locked in on the Falcons Saints game than I was on the Jags Cardinals. So I was kind of like secondary. I knew he kind of struggled a little bit. I did not know he threw 3 picks well. So it came down. It was 4th and 1 inside the Cardinals red zone, and Liam Cohen decides he wants to go for it on 4th and 1 instead of kicking the field goal, going up 6. Don't get it. Let the Cardinals go all the way down. At that point, I fully expected the Jags to lose, but hey, a win is a win. Jags should be 9-2 right now. They don't fall apart against Texans. Texans, they don't fall apart against Cincy. They're sitting at 9-2, which would be really exciting. But hey, we do not scoff at 7-4 in Jacksonville. Never.
I think they're going to try and offload Trevor after this year, no matter how it goes.
How can he? I mean, with that contract, who's taking him? And it still has all of his guarantees front loaded. I think maybe the year after next season would be maybe possible, but I don't know. He's got problems. He has serious problems.
Yeah, maybe just needs a couple more years with the coach, with the staff. You keep winning games, getting to the playoffs. I think it'd be. I agree. It's obvious you can see problems, and then a little bit of Jags football I've watched. It's obvious, but I think in terms of what I see in the NFL or in college or anything, you start moving on from these guys that are winning, and then you might end up in a place you don't want to be. That's way worse.
Look at the Cleveland Browns. They didn't like how Baker played quarterback when they were making the playoffs. Now look at them.
Speaking of the Browns beat the Raiders today, 24-10. Shadur Sanders started this game, and if you probably knew that already if you have social media, because good Lord, it was everywhere. But also big stat from this game, Myles Garrett breaks his own single season sack record with over 17 sacks this year for the Browns. It again, like I said with Nick Jigba a minute ago, it's week 12. Week 12, and he has over 17 sacks.
Stat from this one, actually one that, because Caleb said yesterday bet the Browns, and I was like, the last 12 quarterbacks for the Browns to make their first career start are 0-12 in their first career start. So now they're 1-12. Shadur got it done. I'll be honest, I saw one play of this game, and it was when Kenshot Judkins came in at Wildcat and ran it in. Kind of a stinker of a game, but hey, a win is a win for the Cleveland Browns. Maybe Shadur's the answer. Maybe. What was the stat line of this one? Do you have it?
11
for 20.
Yeah, 11 for 20, 209 yards, touchdown pick. That was it.
Not terrible.
His touchdown was like a swing
good,
pass.
but-
His touchdown was like a swing pass to Judkins that he took it like 70 yards after the pass.
Judkins took 2 of those direct snaps in that game too, Jake. Like both their touchdowns in the first half were direct snaps to Judkins, which was pretty cool. But yeah, look, Shadur, it's something that doesn't happen in Cleveland. Rookie players don't win games in Cleveland in their first start, and he's broken the trend. Now you got to ask some questions. Does he start whether Dylan Gabriel's healthy or not? Is he going to be the guy the rest of the year? They're just going to ride this thing out and see what happens, going into next year.
And
But he's gotten his crack in the door and he's won a game. Which
Yeah.
is something half as many games as Dylan Gabriel did as a starter this year.
Well, and like he said, maybe he's the guy they've been waiting on. He said that pregame. I mean, so we'll see. Okay, and then the last game from the afternoon slate, the Eagles lose to the Cowboys 24-21. We were talking about this before we started the podcast. Eagles were up 21-0 to start this game, and obviously didn't score a point after that. Cowboys come back and win this game 21. Dak Prescott has passed Tony Romo for the most passing yards in Cowboys history in this game. Pretty wild. But I mean, it looked like Jake said earlier, this was all Eagles early. I mean, Jalen Hurts had some big passes. AJ Brown was making some plays. The tush push was, in full effect. And then just something went wrong. And the Eagles offense could not get moving at all. And, credit to the Cowboys, George Pickens has been having a hell of a year. He's going to make a lot of money in the offseason. But I'll ask you guys this real quick, and then you guys can tell what you want about this game. Saquon Barkley. Not been a good year for him. Do you think that's more because the offense is just down in general, or is it what do we think? Because AJ Brown had that quote this week when they asked him, like, do you think you're not the same player? And he was like, well, I guess Saquon's not the same player either. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think to say that is crazy. And I think AJ Brown needs to get hooked up with some like PR guy because I mean, goodness gracious, has he just been a disaster in PR this season? So, I mean, he has been down. I mean, obviously we know that Saquon's still an incredible player, right? But I mean, you look at it today, 10 carries, 22 yards. He did get another 50 through the air, receiving. But
I mean, he's averaging like 3.5 yards a carry this year.
it's just, that's crazy. I don't know. The Eagles have issues. The Eagles have a lot of issues. And I feel like they've been skating by, getting like close wins. But sometimes it takes a loss like this to either make your season and you come back and you get better off of it, or break your season. Because this could be going back in the locker room. Here, this was a take that I heard someone else say this week, and I think it has some merit. AJ Brown has been talking crazy all season, right? All season. And he hasn't said it specifically, like, because it's about Jalen Hurts. I feel like all of what he's saying is about Jalen Hurts. He's not saying his name outright. But if other players on the Eagles aren't speaking up and telling him, hey, you need to stop that, or, speaking up in defense of Jalen Hurts, what do we think that locker room really looks like? Like, are other people in the clubhouse starting to maybe, turn on Jalen Hurts a little bit? Because he isn't very good. I mean, he'll bully with his stat line, but if you watch it, you need to get a 3rd and 7 completion. Doesn't happen a lot of times than you would need. And the Rams are up 21-0 on the Bucs right now. Also kicking their ass.
Yeah, Saquon's had a little bit of an issue with fumbles here as of recent. He had an ugly one today, and that kind of puts more, burn to the pain that he's been this year in terms of how he's played. Disappointing. It's hard for guys to come off of like a near 2,000 yard or like I'm about to break the rushing record season and be able to replicate it. Because, I mean, he ran the football a lot. At the end of the year last year, they were attempting to get him there at that point. Like once they knew it was close, they were handing him the football a bunch. And it came down to decisions at the very end of the year in terms of him playing the last game or not when they had the number 1 seed clinched as to whether or not he could go after the rushing record. They finally said no, but they ran him to death before that. Usually guys don't do that for back-to-back years. So I'm not too terribly shocked. It's really hard for me to think that Jalen Hurts has gotten some locker room mutiny going on with him being 8-3 and just coming off a Super Bowl win and MVP. I mean, there's not many other guys in the NFL with that, around their neck other than him. So yes, obviously maybe it's a one-man show, this issue. I mean, I don't see anybody else complaining on the Eagles about what's going on other than AJ Brown.
Interesting. Okay. Jake just mentioned Rams are beating the Bucs 21-0. Rams have just been mollywopping everybody. To go back to Thursday real quick, Texans beat the Bills 23-19. The Texans have not lost with Davis Mills playing quarterback this season. The Bills, though, there was a stat because last year when Bills played the Texans, it was Josh Allen's like statistically his worst game of his career. I mean, he had a pretty rough one here. They just could not get anything going. He had no passing touchdowns and were stopped a lot. And the Bills, I mean, Caleb, like, did you think you picked them to go to Super Bowl in preseason? Do you think they're good enough to go to the Super Bowl still?
They're too inconsistent for me. I mean, like, they can't do anything. They can't piece together 2 great weeks. Like, they'll have a really good up week, and then they'll go and lose to the Miami Dolphins. And then they
Mhm.
drop stinkers like this where they turn the ball over 3 times in the game and have nothing to show for it touchdown-wise on offense other than what James Cook was able to do. I think he broke a long one early in the game. So, no, I'm a little cooled off on the Buffalo Bills out of the AFC, honestly, and it's disappointing to say that, my team, I didn't even pick them to be here, but they're way closer to being a Super Bowl caliber team to me than the Buffalo Bills are, just because the quarterback play is better. And that's
Yeah.
shocking to say out loud.
Yeah, I think that point you said in the beginning about how inconsistent they are. It's like, which Bills are we going to get? Are we going to get the Bills that Josh Allen looks like the rookie Josh Allen making stupid decisions, or are we going to get the one last week? He scores 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. It looks like everything he touched turns to gold. You have absolutely no idea with this team. No idea.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. And look, if they don't get in, which I think they'll still be able to get a wild card spot, and anybody that's got championship blood in them, like they can come alive in the playoffs. And let's say they finish, 12-5, and then they're sitting at 7-4, and they get hot right here at the end, and they go on a run. But they still got to go. I don't know if they're better than the Denver Broncos or us in the AFC. And if we already talked about, Jake wants the Chiefs in, do you think they're going to
Didn't
Chiefs
say I
when push
wanted.
comes to shove? In?
I didn't say I wanted the Cheeseman. I didn't say that.
You
But
did
no,
say you wanted them in. You said you wanted them in the playoffs.
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
That's
I
the
wouldn't
same
hate it
thing.
if they didn't make it. No tears. If they do, I wouldn't be against a Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes January matchup. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, let's just wrap up NFL Week 12. Let's get into our players and deep thoughts of the week. Last week I finally got back in the column picking Josh Allen for his 6 touchdown game. That was a mollywhopping of a player of the week.
Shame on you. All my friends who went to Georgia Southern and text me all the time saying I don't talk about Georgia Southern enough. Shame on you. I finally pick a Southern player and not even close. Shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourself. And if you went to Georgia Southern and you voted for Josh Allen, double shame on you. Double.
Yeah,
Maybe they just know ball.
Caleb picked a guy that had 300 yards of rushing, and he got like 2 votes.
It just shows you what's going on around. Like maybe we gotta have some, Q&A, some questionnaires, some live events, and maybe trying to educate the crowd. What's going on?
All right, let's get
And he
into
had 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, but I had standings right now. Caleb has 5. I have 4. Jake has 3. So Jake, we will let you go first this week.
Oh, yes. Hopefully getting back into the column. I hate being in last. I'm in last in the pick'ems and last in the player of the week. So, I just suck at everything this year. I feel like I got a good one this week. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the pod, but I'm going to give my player of the week to Jahmyr Gibbs. 15 carries for 219 yards with 2 touchdowns, plus that 70-yard touchdown the first play of overtime. Had a little bit through the air as well. 11 catches for 45 yards and another touchdown. All in all, 6 touches for 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. Great day for Jahmyr Gibbs.
All right, Caleb, you go.
Okay, so my player of the week is going to be a guy that a lot of people wrote off at the beginning of the year. He said the hype was too big, whatever. Well, he finally showed up, Arch Manning, 6 total touchdowns this week, 389 yards in the air. If you haven't seen his receiving touchdown, hell of a catch. Very athletic play out of a quarterback to be able to make that kind of grab and seal that play. And look, he's coming back next year. Texas is going to have one of the better quarterbacks in the country coming back to their roster next year. That's a guaranteed good player in that conference. That's very valuable for them. But Arch Manning this week had a hell of a week. Player of the week for me.
It's a good one. Yeah, he had he said he had 6 touchdowns.
He had 4 passing, 1 rushing, 1 receiving.
Big day. Seems like everybody goes off against that Arkansas defense. I'm gonna go with another SEC quarterback, and I had Vandy as my favorite of the week. Went 4-1 on my picks again last week. By the way, back-to-back weeks going 4-1. Diego Pavia, man, 33 for 39, 484 yards passing, 5 passing touchdowns, another 48 on the ground, and a rushing touchdown. So he also had 6 total touchdowns. I'm not, advocating for this guy to win the Heisman, but can we just invite him there? Can we just get some Diego Pavia New York Heisman content? I just want to see it. I just want to see him and Cam Scatabo have to take a picture or something, and it would just be absolutely awesome. But Diego Pavia had another huge game for Vandy, and it'll be tough to see if they can make the playoff or not. But they're sitting at 9-2 with a chance. If they beat Tennessee, they're going to have an argument. And for Vanderbilt football to win 10 games. I don't know if they've ever done that. I mean, seriously, I'm gonna have to look that up. Is
Probably
Vanderbilt
before World War II, I would
has
guess.
Vanderbilt ever won 10 games in a season? I gotta find this out. I doubt they have. No, Vanderbilt has never had a 10-win season. Best record was 9 wins with James Franklin in 2013.
Wow.
Ever?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Thought
All
they
right.
were good back in, the 1920s or 30s.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, there's a Reddit thing. It was the only it was the only Power 4 or 5 team without a 10-win season. Okay, huge game. Okay, and let's finish our deep thought of the week. Caleb, you kind of gave a preview of yours earlier, so why don't you get us started?
I'm sick of not being able to watch games in whatever sport wherever I want to. Why can't I be on the East Coast or say in the Southeast and I can't watch New England Patriots play football on Sunday? Why can't I? Why aren't they on another channel? I'm sick of the blackout situation. And honestly, it makes me more sick. Go look up whenever you have some free time how much like NFL Sunday ticket costs in Brazil or Australia or the UK. It's way cheaper than it is in the US. So they're already
Really?
making. Yes, it is nice. It's like a quarter of the price. They don't even they don't want us to watch the games. They know we'll pay money to watch our favorite NFL teams. So they're charging us more and they're making it harder for everybody to see. Look, the Shield's big enough. Like they don't need any more money. They're getting plenty from the TVs. I think it would be better for getting more fans. Let's say there's a guy, a kid in the Southeast, and he wants to watch Sam Darnold. Well, it's pretty damn hard to watch Sam Darnold over here. No matter what time the game's on, when it's on, you may see one or two unless he gets a primetime slate. Like, why can't he watch them every week? Why can't he become a Seattle Seahawks fan? Why? It's not just NFL either. You see this in the NBA. You see this in MLB. The MLB is the worst about it.
Yeah.
So, and they're not even in season right now. But the NFL, I'm growing tired of it too because it's too big of a sport. Like if you want everybody to like what you're putting out there, put it on every channel. Put every game on every channel, and don't charge us $175 a year, whatever crazy number it is now, to get it.
So do you have Sunday ticket? No.
I had it for a year when I was a student in college because it was like $100.
Yeah. I have to get it. That's one thing, and it is insanely expensive, and it like makes me sick every single year, like renewing it. I can't go without it. The NFL has me by the testicles. I will. How much more money do you want, Mr. Goodell? Because I will give it to you. Because I have to watch. I have to watch it.
I thought you said your girlfriend's mom paid for yours.
Oh, you don't have to say that on the podcast.
I mean, like, it's already bad enough. You have to pay for a Prime membership and Peacock to watch the playoff games. Like, they're already milking us for enough cash, dude. Let me watch the Bengals play the Patriots in Week 12.
Thanks to Grace's mom, it was very clutch.
Hey,
Very clutch.
That's a good.
The point remains, still too expensive.
Yeah. I'll go into my deep thought. I did have two. I was initially going to talk about Brent Key, like leaving Georgia Tech. That was going to be my deep thought. And then I kind of fleshed all of that out like 20 minutes into the podcast. And I started thinking, maybe should have saved that for the deep thought segment. I want to talk about, because I was listening on my drive from Jacksonville to Macon the other night. I had a lot of time on the road, and I know y'all like music. I don't really love music like that. Like I'll listen to some music, here and there, but I'm a podcast guy. So I tried to turn on Part of My Take. I hardly ever listen to Part of My Take anymore. It got like 15 minutes in. I was like, I got to turn this off. So I started listening to Josh Pate. And this was an episode from a few days. I love Josh Pate. I wish I could talk ball like Josh Pate. He is just in a league of his own. He was talking about a discussion that the Big Ten came and presented to all the other Power 4 teams about a 24-team playoff. And I just think that's a terrible idea. If I'm being completely honest, like he was also talking about a 16-team playoff or a 12, just go back to the idea of a 12-team playoff. And I know when a couple of years ago when they were floating this idea out, I was very anti 12-team playoff. I think we can see now that it is kind of a good, because it hasn't taken too much away from these regular season games. Obviously, like, the game that Bama lost to Oklahoma a few weeks ago would have been a much bigger deal because that would have ended their season if we were in the 14 playoff. But I'm just against expansion. I think it needs to stay at 12. I'm even against 16, because I'll say this too. What were we talking about earlier is our like top 8 teams have stayed the same for the last like 3 weeks. I could almost guarantee you whoever's going to win the national championship is going to be within that top 8. And we're sitting here arguing about Well, what about Utah? What about Miami? What about Virginia? All these teams that are going to get mollywopped the first game that they go out there. I just think it's too much. I think it probably should have went to 8. I feel like 8's the number. 12 I can get okay with. But man, if these Big Ten people get what they want, they expand it to 16, they expand it to 24, that's when you're really going to see these games just stop meaning anything in college football. We're going to see 4 lost teams. They're going to go 8-4, not even sniff the conference championship game. They're going to be able to get in the playoff, and it's just going to cheapen the entire brand. And I just want to just go ahead and get out front of it and say I think that's a terrible idea.
It is a terrible idea. If you think that's a good idea, you have no clue as what you've been watching. You're going to get Northwestern's going to make the playoffs one of these years. Like, you don't want that, especially when they're talking about automatic qualifiers. Like, it's not even their ranking. We can't even just decide based on ranking, because if it was a 2014 playoff, you'd probably have like 9 of the SEC teams make it every single year. Every year.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that and they want to do that, if you look inside of it, it's like they want to do 4, they want to give 4 automatic qualifiers, like you just said, to each conference. And it's like, what are you, 4? You tell me so you're telling me the ACC we'd have to include Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pitt, and Miami in the playoff this year if we had a 2014 playoff. We'd have to do that.
Joke. I don't want to watch it. I'm sick of it. And I'll tell you what, those teams, like, when you're that bad, you need to go to bowl games. Like, we need to have competitive people in bowl games. I'm a classical college football fan. I hate how bowl games have went. It doesn't even feel the same. Like, even with a 12-teamer. And if they added some kind of relevancy, like, maybe make another tournament out of a couple the bowl games or something like that for the
realistically the bowl game thing. Like, they're just gonna have to start paying these guys to play in the bowl games. Like, that's gonna have to be part of like their NIL deals or whatever. Like, you have to play like guaranteed money for playing your 13th game, something like that. That's gonna be the only way to fix the bowl games. The bowl games really did, like, just go back 10 years ago, and like even 5 years ago, they still had some juice. They mean nothing now. It is sad. All right, my deep thought of the week can stay, and I kind of have 2 here. One, Georgia had another speeding arrest today, so it had been a long time. Some backup offensive lineman.
He has like 13 criminal charges and he was 4 felonies.
Fleeing the police, so he was not trying to get caught. So just wanted to put that out there. We had gone a while without one, but they're back.
We're so winning the Natty. We're so winning the Natty. We're so back.
But I also want to talk about, we got a lot of head coaches getting fired this year. All right. There's a lot of, Cal just made a decision. There's a school in the state of Florida that said, no. Third, that we're going to have another losing season, but it's okay. Mike Norvell is going to keep his job. And I don't know if you guys watched that Florida State game on Friday night, but oh my goodness. Did you guys watch it?
Didn't watch it. Well, I watched part of it. I was on the road a lot on Friday, but I did watch that end.
Okay.
I watched the fourth quarter and their special teams.
Those back-to-back punts. So first of all, they couldn't do much offensive, but it was 14-11. They punted the ball. They had a punt where it was a short punt and it hit one of the Florida State's players' helmets, bounced back like 25 yards, and then the punter who punted the ball recovered it for NC State, right? Then and Florida State gets another stop, so like a 3-and-out, and then Squirrel White muffs the punt that they get back. So back-to-back punts that they gave back to NC State, and then NC State scored on like a 4th and 6 at the 15-yard line, went for it with like less than 2 minutes to go and win the game 21-11. But Florida State, if you guys didn't know, Mike Norvell, this is his 6th year. If he loses to Florida, so he goes 5-7, it'll be 4 losing seasons in 6 years. 4 losing seasons. They had the 13-0 year. I don't even know what he did the other year, but I think he went 9-3 that one year before the 13-0 years. Look, Florida State, I think they don't. I've heard a lot of things. They don't have a lot of money. The whole ACC thing, whatever that is, it's obviously showing. But for all you can say, we make fun of Florida and we make fun of LSU and all these things for what they are in Auburn, but at least they're telling their fan base they care. I mean, the Florida State looking at their fan base and just going, "Yep, same guy." It just but remember, he beat Alabama. I don't know what their concept is here. I just don't get it. I mean, Mike Norvell is not a good coach, if you ask me. I mean, and he's like, I was with Ryan and Jonathan the other night, and when we were watching this game, and I just got done dogging Shane Beamer a little bit, and they said, well, Jonathan was like, well, what about Mike Norvell? I mean, he's just like Shane Beamer. I was like, you know what? You're kind of right. He's the ACC Shane Beamer.
I think it's a great decision. Personally, I really hope that they continue to keep him forever.
Yeah. So I have two sides of the coin on this one because I do think it's a little complicated. I think number one, yeah, he sucks and he should be gone. He should be gone. But I also think number two, this is probably like looking at it as a single season, the amount of jobs that are available right now. Where is Florida State rank? Where's Florida State rank? It's going to be below Penn State. It's going to be below LSU. It's going to be below Florida. It's probably going to be below Arkansas, like just the SEC flair of it. I feel like the Virginia Tech job was probably looked at similarly, probably a little bit less.
That's a way better job, in my opinion.
But if you look at it,
a Virginia Tech job is a better job.
I wouldn't say it's better. I think they're similar, and I could maybe see Florida State being a little bit better. I could also see a world where Virginia Tech's is a little bit better too. I think it's not a terrible call for Florida State because the coaches are not going to be considering them as heavily in this coaching, carousel, this coaching off season versus fire him in week 5 of next year, fire him in week 4. It is no longer an idea of if he's going to get fired. It's just when. And I think next season, I find it hard to believe that as many good jobs are going to be available like it is this season. So I think he stinks, and I think he's going to get fired, but I don't really hate the decision to bring him back just off of that thought process. And I think you can. I think you make the same argument with South Carolina, with Shane Beamer. Like, who the hell's going to go to South Carolina?
Well, here's the thing. Florida State, if I had to combat that, I would say you fire him now and you just call Jimbo Fisher.
Why not?
What they definitely would do is they would promote Gus Malzahn because, like, on the coordinator side of things, like they've been much better, much improved on both sides of the ball compared to last year. And that's one of the things that their AD talked about, the reason why they were keeping him, bringing him back. And they're just going to make some demands about how things like structurally or philosophically change in the build in terms of mainly high school recruiting. Stop recruiting the portal so much. I mean, because it hasn't worked out. You had a flash in pan one year, but even then, like Jordan Travis was a high school, or like that whole team was based out of high school kids. Yeah, they had Keon Coleman, a couple transfers. Don't get me wrong, but like they built from the ground up, and that's what you should do in the state of Florida. There's no reason why you should not be recruiting your own state.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up episode 31. Just so everybody knows, we are next episode will come out on Wednesday. Got the holidays coming up, Thanksgiving week. So we're going to be recording a little day early. So next episode will come out on Wednesday. Again, thank you to everybody for showing up yesterday. Awesome event. 2,400 pounds donated to the Fulton County Animal Shelter today. They were very grateful. Thank you for everyone that came. For Caleb and Jake, we have a huge rivalry coming up. We got Michigan, Ohio State, which is gonna be a big one. Georgia Tech, obviously the toilet bowl down there between Florida and Florida State is gonna be a good one as well. So we're gonna talk about all of that next episode, and we will see you guys then. Deep Shot out.